G'day fellas, and welcome to another Age of Empires 4 video where we take a look at the Knights of Cross and Rose expansion pack. Today's video, we look at the Knights Templar, and we're looking to break down absolutely everything there is about this civ. We're going to take a look at the tech tree, we'll jump in and have a look at their units. We're not going to be doing theory crafting too much in this video, it's mainly focused on just sort of getting that information out there to you. So let's take a look at the very first thing, and that is the way that they're described by the game is Pilgrims, Commanderies, and Knights. Three very exciting things. Obviously, the Pilgrims being new, Commanderies being new, and Knights being a staple of your mid-game fighting. So, there are 2-star difficulty civ, and it's described as founded to protect the meek and weary. The Knights Templar established commanderies throughout Europe to call on their allies. Fielding a spectacular array of heavy troops, the Templars lead the charge into battle with discipline and heart. Fortresses dot the carefully cultivated landscape, providing key defensive positions and safe haven to the pilgrims they protect. Civ bonuses. Age up at the town centre to establish a commandery. Commanderies permanently unlock units and bonuses. Pilgrims generate gold by travelling to sacred sites. Build fortresses in the feudal age. Fortresses increase the range of nearby units and health on nearby stone walls. Fortresses act as landmarks but can be fully destroyed. Lumberjacks deposit wood automatically and gather faster with each age. Siege workshops and siege engines cost less wood, and trebuchets fire an additional projectile. Those are the bonuses that it's got. Let's take a look at their tech tree and exactly what they've actually got in here. So we'll start off by just looking over on the left-hand side and seeing exactly what the bonuses are in further detail. So establish commanderies. Age up at the town center by establishing one of 3 unique commanderies. Each commandery permanently unlocks a unique unit and bonus. So this is very similar to Age of Empires 3 if you've ever played that game, in the way that you age up, in the sense that your town center actually stops producing villages and you start aging up with the commandery. And then you can obviously resume creating villages after you've completed that. So very similar there. We've got Frankish defensive schemes. Fortresses replace keeps and are available in the feudal age. Range units positioned near a fortress have a 15% increased attack range, and stone walls placed within the influence of a fortress or the Templar headquarters have 25% increased health and gain a default arrow. Fortresses behave as landmarks, but can be fully destroyed. So that basically means that once they're destroyed, that's it. You can't repair them anymore, you can't rebuild them, but it also means that you need to actually eliminate a player by taking out their fortresses. So it's kind of cool because you can basically just move to the back of the map and just make a fortress at any point. Pilgrimage. The Knights Pilgrimage, or rather the Knights Templar, cannot train traders. Instead, they generate gold from successful pilgrimages. Upon reaching the feudal age, the Knights Templar may offer safe passage for pilgrims to travel to a sacred site. Every 60 seconds, a group of pilgrims will travel to the Templars' headquarters to the selected sacred site, generating gold upon arrival based on the distance traveled. The size of the group is increased by 1 for each active fortress, up to a maximum of 10. Sacred sites and relics are revealed at the start of the game. So very similarly to the traders in the way that the mechanics work here, just a little bit of background information. There is a cap on how much gold you can generate with pilgrims. It is 130, and there is also a minimum, a floor amount that you will receive with your pilgrims, and that is 65. So 65 gold per pilgrim per minute, and up to 130 depending on the distance. And it does seem quite easy to hit that maximum cap as well. So victory through steel. The Knights Templar are committed to a life of sword and steel. They do not wield gunpowder on the field, but have powerful technologies to improve their melee units. And landscape preservation. Villagers automatically deposit wood without a lumber camp. Wood is gathered 15% faster in each age, and 20% of the wood gathered is produced as additional food. So that is a pretty cool bonus that you're getting right there. So an extra 20% or 20% of the wood that you gather is sent off as food. On top of that, you also get the 15% faster in each age. So I haven't double checked whether this includes the Dark Age, but the reason why this exists obviously is because if you don't have a lumber camp, how are you going to get your wood upgrade? So they just kind of give you the wood upgrade for free. That's the way I was thinking about it, but I don't know whether that's a 60% bonus or a 45% bonus. So we'll have to double test that, double check that. Further to that, they automatically deposit the wood, which means that the wood generation is slowly going up. They don't just deposit 10 or 15 at a time. So once again, similar to Age of Empires 3. I'm sure you can see there's quite a bit of influence in this expansion pack from AoE3. So I think it begs the question, did Age of Empires 3 die so that we can have Age of Empires 4 Knights of Cross and Rose? Anyway, siege experts. Trebuchets fire additional projectiles and can be deployed atop fortresses with a unique emplacement. Siege workshops and siege engines cost 25% less wood. And of course, we've got their unique units, which we'll be going into depth to take a look at. So we're going to start just by going through their standard tech tree, and then we'll be taking a look at the commanderies. Actually, there's a part of me that thinks maybe we do the commanderies first, but look, we'll get to these eventually. Don't worry. I'll leave timestamps down below as to where and what happens. Okay, so you've got the house, you've got the mill. Mill's got all the standard upgrades that you would expect of a mill. We take a look at the mining camp. It's got all the same upgrades that you would expect. A farm, a barracks for your spearmen, for your knight hospitaller or your hospitaller knight, sergeant. These are all, keep in mind, all of these units that you're seeing here with the exception of the men-at-arms and the exception of the spearmen are exclusive to your commanderies. So you can't train the hospitaller knight normally. You can't train the sergeant normally. You can't train the heavy spearman, the Teutonic knight, the condottiero. Normally, you actually need to have the commandery alliance. That's the key component here. So really, we'll get into them. We'll take a look at the dock. We'll have a look and see whether they've got anything interesting in here. It all looks pretty standard, except for Crusader fleets, which upgrades hulks with flaming bastilles, which increase range by 1.5 tiles and damage by 25%. That is incredible. That's the first time I'm actually seeing this upgrade, but that is amazing. That's an Imperial Age technology. That is a really good tech. They've also got access to the Venetian galley. Now, keep in mind that is obviously going to be a Venetian exclusive. So let's take a look. Outpost, arrow slits, fortify outpost, and a springwood emplacement. There's no cannon emplacement that they can choose to have. And then we've got the fortress. So a unique landmark fortification for the Knights Templar can be fully destroyed, has an aura that improves nearby units' range. Each fortress increases the number of pilgrims traveling. So then we can take a look and see that in the feudal age, you've got access to desert citadels, which improves the desert outpost aura on fortresses and also increases the armor of nearby units by +1/+1. So this is a huge boost in the early game. The fact that you can get +1/+1 on top of your existing armor upgrades, your existing attack upgrades, is very, very nice to have. So this is a huge boost. Keep in mind, this is only for armor, but obviously adding that in on top of everything else just means that it is very nice to have. It's going to be quite an affordable upgrade as well, only 100, 250. The main issue that you're going to have with this, and not to theory craft too much, is that the fortress is 300 gold, 600 stone. Quite the investment in the feudal age, so keep that in mind. On top of that, you can have the springwood emplacement, you can grab boiling oil, and you've got access to treasure towers in the castle age, which has got the ability to increase the gold generation from monasteries, from sacred sites, and from pilgrims by 20% within the aura of a fortress. So that means that you can expect to see a lot of fortresses around sacred sites because the pilgrims are going to be going there, so that's going to increase that gold generation, but also expect to see their monasteries placed down nearby as well, just to try and maximize the gold that you're getting from any of those relics. And then finally, we've got the trebuchet emplacement, which adds a defensive trebuchet emplacement to this structure. And there's also iron clamps, which reinforces the walls, or rather iron clamps reinforcing the walls, reduces incoming damage from gunpowder by 20% for stone walls and fortresses. This is pretty big. It means in the late game, up against bombards, up against culverin, up against great bombards, you're going to have a nice little bit of reduction here against the damage that you are receiving. So it's definitely a worthwhile upgrade. Then we've got the base town center, which has just got your standard stuff, your market, except for one little thing right here. You'll see the Venetian trader is here, which is obviously unique to Venice, and we'll talk about them later. But we've got Lettre de Change, which unlocks the Pilgrim Loan ability, which loans a large sum of food for a return in gold over time. So basically, the way that this works is very much you pay 600 food, you pay 1,000 food, you pay 3,000 food, and then over time, you will receive gold back. So that might be, you pay 3,000 food, you get 2,700. It's actually, you pay 4,000 food, and you get 3,600 gold back. So you're getting slightly less gold, but it's definitely worthwhile in the end of the game. If you're going to have a lot of food here, just keeping in mind the fact that you're generating quite a bit of food coming through from your wood as well. So it definitely starts to add up. We'll take a look at the blacksmith now, and with regard to their blacksmith, it is exactly the same as every other person's blacksmith. No unique upgrades in here. And then the archery range, you'll see that we've got the archer, the crossbow, and we've got a couple of uniques, which we'll talk more about later. And then the stable, where we've got the scout, the horseman, and the Templar brother. We've also got the 2 unique units for the commanderies, and we've got 1 upgrade. So the Templar brother, just to take a quick look at this, is 120 food, 140 gold, so quite expensive here with regard to gold, but obviously we're going to have quite a bit more gold with this civilization. So it is a very similar, or it's basically just a knight, but a stronger knight. And then we've got Rule of Templars, where you gain +2 charge damage per nearby charging heavy cavalry. So that means if you've got 2 charging knights, that they're going to be buffing each other up by 2. If you've got 10, that means that you are potentially going to be getting a plus 18 bonus, a plus 20 bonus. It is a big amount of charge damage. And of course, I'm sure you can already imagine there are ways to stack this up with existing commanderies. We're not going to get into it just yet, but 50% extra charge damage, I'm sure you can see where that is going to get absolutely fun in the late game. So that's the stable all done. Stone wall, stone gate, stone wall tower, monastery, nothing too crazy in here apart from fanaticism. I haven't actually seen this one. Templar brothers and commandery units gain 10% damage when below 50% health and 30% when below 25% health. Wow, okay. That's actually very powerful. So 10% extra damage and then an extra 30% damage below 25% health, which is very, very strong. That's kind of crazy, because now if you can get 30% extra health, or sorry, 30% extra damage when you're below 25% health, and then you've got the charge, and then you're getting extra damage from the charges, and then you're getting extra damage from the... Oh, wow. Yeah, that could be really fun. Siege Workshop, keep in mind everything in here is slightly cheaper when it comes to their costs, but that won't be reflected on the UI. No unique upgrades that we've got in here. And then finally, at the university, we've got Counterweight Defenses, which is a unique upgrade to the Knights Templar, which is where all trebuchets gain an additional 1 projectile. And then we've also got Cranequins, which is where crossbows are now able to load stronger bolts that have an extra 0.5 of range and an extra 2 damage. So this is quite a strong upgrade as well. We've also got Brigandine. Common soldiers are equipped with more resistant armor. Light Cav gain +2 armor. So there you go, a nice little unique buff for them. And other than that, they've got the Notre Dame that is completed down there. So let's take a look at the commanderies, have a look at the bonuses that they provide. We'll look to try and close out all of these other than the ones that are relevant for us. That way it makes the UI a bit easier. Okay, so that's all of those done. Okay, so we start off with the town center, the Templar headquarters. So you've got access to 2 unique techs here. Safe Passage, which is going to begin your pilgrims spawning. And your pilgrims obviously spawn every 60 seconds, as it says, and they will travel towards a sacred site, so you need to choose which sacred site you want them to travel to. You can't travel to a sacred site that is controlled by the enemy. It has to be your own or a neutral sacred site. And then we've got Sanctuary, which gives you a second pilgrim. And keep in mind, each pilgrim is obviously going to be generating its own gold. It's like a second trader. So if you're getting 130 gold with the first pilgrim, the second pilgrim starts coming out. It is going to be an extra 130 gold. So these are definitely high priority techs that you want to be looking to get ASAP. Now let's take a look at the first of the sets. So we'll start off with the feudal age, then we'll go into the castle, then obviously into the imperial age. And we're not going to talk too much about theory crafting here, just basically looking at what we've got. So the first up is the Kingdom of France, where military units are produced 15% faster and cost 5% less gold. So this pairs up with a cavalry unit by the name of the Chevalier, I think it's pronounced. So the Chevalier. So it's basically a knight, but it's cheaper. It's a cheaper knight, and it gets a really cool bonus. So gains health from nearby cavalry units. So if you've got 10 of these, they get an extra 10 health, all of them. So this can really start to add up, and immediately I was like, okay, this is going to be amazing for FFA when we've got 300 Chevaliers running around and everybody's got plus 300 health, but just keep in mind there's obviously a radius to this. So it's a cool little way that you can get access to a knight unit in the feudal age, and I think that this plays in quite well to the civilization style in the sense that you probably want to be out on the map being aggressive and protecting your pilgrims. The second one is the Principality of Antioch, which gives you plus 10% damage to all melee units. On top of that, you also get access to a new unit at the barracks, which is the Sergeant. The Sergeant is a sturdy infantry that throws axes which deal melee damage from range. Now, the range is quite short. I think it's 4 range that it is, but it does a good chunk of damage. They've also got a lot of melee armor on them, so quite an interesting unit to utilize. So we'll take a look at that shortly. And the final unit that we'll be looking at for the age of or for the feudal age is the Knights Hospitaller, and they increase the health of all civilian units by 30% and increase healing from all sources by 30%. So this is going to start by just giving your villagers from 50 health up to 65 health, and then increases the healing from all sources, which is very important because they provide healing in their Hospitaller Knight unit. So tough infantry with good damage, heals friendly units. So it's like a man-at-arms, but basically has a heal function as well. I think when it comes to actual fights, you're probably not going to want it to heal up a whole bunch. I think the main thing that you're going to want to do is when you're fighting, you're going to be fighting. And then when the fight is finished, then it's going to make a lot of sense. So this can definitely help out quite a bit if you're looking to play defensive. So those are the first 3 of the commanderies. The second level, the Castle Age, we've got the Republic of Genoa. Pilgrims generate 30% more gold. So if you're already generating 130 gold, then now you're generating an extra, what is it, an extra 42, 43 gold. It's quite a bit of extra gold. And keep in mind that you can make more fortresses that are going to generate you more pilgrims. You can stack this bonus on top of it. You can put the fortress nearby, and that's going to further generate that extra bonus on top of it. So this is a really cool bonus that you can really start to stack up. And the Republic of Genoa, of course, you'll be familiar with exactly the unit that they get. It is the Genoese crossbowman. And the Genoese crossbowman is pretty cool in the sense that it is very powerful. It's just got a high base damage. That's it. It doesn't have bonus damage against anything other than melee infantry. So you can see right here, it says high damage ranged unit effective against melee infantry. So I think it gets like it's got a high base damage of like 20 or something. We'll take a look in the game soon and confirm for you. But then it's got like a +8 against melee infantry. So it doesn't get bonus damage against heavy units, just melee infantry. So very, very cool unit. Definitely one of the stronger units. I'll say that much right now. So Republic of Genoa, probably going to be a favorite. Next up, we've got the Kingdom of Castile. Units near sacred sites gain 20% damage and regenerate health. Now, the Kingdom of Castile, if I remember correctly, provides you the Genitua. So I'll just have to double check that. Then we've got the Angevin Empire. Yeah. Okay, so the Kingdom of Castile is providing you the Genitua. So highly mobile ranged cav that throws javelins. So it has got a very low amount of damage initially, but it gets a huge amount of bonus damage against ranged units. So similar to the Terma in Age of Mythology, in that it is mobile. However, it hits, it's got a pea shooter, except if it's shooting against ranged units. That's pretty much it. So a fun unit to use, but I think it's very much going to be matchup specific. And then finally, we have the Angevin Empire. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Angevin Empire. Fortresses and docks gain 30% health. So a little bit more of a defensive age-up bonus there. However, you do get access to the Heavy Spearman. And the Heavy Spearman is an absolute beast. In my opinion, one of the strongest units. Now, already the Spearmen are quite good, right? Like, we often see them getting spammed out. People just kind of make them and then just forget about them, set and forget. Heavy Spearman's just so much worse, dude. Heavy Infantry, and when I say worse, I mean that in a good way. It's so much better, dude. It is crazy. Heavy Infantry, excellent against mounted units. It's also excellent just against everything. So stronger when close to fortresses, anti-cavalry specialist, high armor, has a stronger spear wall, but the downside is that it's countered by the crossbowmen. Oh, that sucks. So yeah, it's pretty strong. And then finally, let's get into the Imperial Age. Take a look at these 3. So to start things off, we'll start strong. The Teutonic Order. All gold units gain +2 melee armor. So the way this works is if a unit costs gold, it is a gold unit. So everything is getting +2 armor if it costs gold. Sergeant, it's a gold unit. Hospitaller Knight, gold unit. Men-at-Arms, gold unit. Spearman, not a gold unit. That's how they do it. So the Teutonic Knight is an absolute beast, incredibly expensive, extremely powerful, and expensive heavy infantry lowers the armor of nearby enemy units, so it has an aura around it. Think if you've ever played Dota 2, it's the exact same aura as Shadow Fiend has got. There you go. Becomes more powerful after defeating an enemy. Excellent in melee combat, weak to crossbowmen, and low mobility. It is a very slow unit. It is definitely weak to crossbows. However, it does get stronger the more units it takes down. So if you've killed a unit or 2 or 3, it will get more health, it will get more damage. Yes, it can be very powerful. So keep an eye out on that. Next up, we've got Venice, who unlock a number of different units. So they, on top of that, also reduce the change in the base buy or sell price by 75% when trading resources at the market. So typically, if you're going to go to the market and let's say you want to buy stone, it starts off at 170 gold and you get 100 stone back. After the first purchase, it then goes to 174 gold for 100 stone. And then the next purchase goes to 178 gold for the next purchase of stone. What Venice does is it means that instead of going to from 170 to 174, it goes from 170 to 171. Then the next purchase goes to 172. And it means that if you're buying a lot of stone or any resource for that matter, that the effects of that over a longer period of time are going to be much more reduced compared to a person who doesn't have this. So that's how the bonus works. Let's take a look at some of the units that they get. So they unlock 3 different units. The first one is the Condottiero, which is unique to the Knights Templar. It's reminiscent of a Rodolero in Age of Empires 3. So it's a fast armored infantry that deals more and takes less damage from gunpowder units. So it's got high damage, moves quickly, but it has a high gold cost, obviously only costing gold, 120 gold. So you're not going to be able to spam these unless you're running a lot of contracts. The second unit that they get access to is available from the dock, and that is the Venetian Galley, a large oared vessel with a long-range forward-mounted trebuchet. So similar in a way to the unique French ship that they get, where it's forward-mounted. So it does have a long range, but it obviously is a little bit more expensive. 360 wood, 300 gold for these bad boys. And then finally, at the market, you'll gain access to the Venetian Trader, which is an expensive and fast trader. It is incredibly fast. I think it's faster than a horseman. It generates gold by traveling between its home market and a trade post and another player's market. Generates greater distances from between the home market and trader destination will generate higher amounts of gold. So exactly the same as your standard trader. The only difference is that there's a maximum of 5 Venetian traders that you can have. So nice little thing there for the Venetians. And then finally for, was that all 3 of the units? 1, 2, 3, yes, it was. Cool. So the final thing is going to be the Kingdom of Poland. All cavalry gain 10% health and 50% charge damage. And I can imagine this is probably going to be a favorite of many. So you unlock a unique unit in the Imperial Age at the stable. If we take a look at it, you'll see it's called, I think it's called the Schlacker. What have we got here? The Slatcher. I apologize. I'm going to be butchering this. So if you know the correct pronunciation, put it down in the comments and I'll make sure that I get it right. 180 food, 120 gold. And compare that to the Templar, brother, which is meant to be an expensive knight. You've got 120, 140, and then you've got 180, 120. So even more expensive than the Templar, brother. It is an expensive cav with high damage and ranged armor. Slows the enemy's attack speed when attacking. It's got heavy armor, strong against light infantry, and countered by spearmen and crossbows. So this is going to be one to watch out for. Definitely one that the crossbows are going to focus down, just mainly because it does reduce attack speed. And weaving these in with all your other units are going to be very effective because they're capable of reducing that attack speed of the enemy. So something to watch out for. So those are the units. Those are the commanderies. Let's dive into a game and actually inspect and check how these things all stack up together. Make sure that we're on the right civilization. Make sure that we've got cheats enabled. That would be awkward if we didn't, because we need to get through these relatively quickly, because I know you guys don't have all day, and I definitely don't have all day either to sit through a 45-minute game. Probably wouldn't take us that long to get Imperial Age, but to do that 3 times might take a while. So we're going to go ahead and type in our cheat code in a jiffy, and we will just start off with our Dark Age, and you'll see that we've got the barracks, which has just got access to the spear. We'll also get a couple of houses down at the back. And we'll start off with our first commandery. So if we turn off in a jiffy and say, okay, we're training villagers and we want to grab our feudal age up, you can see it says 3 minutes and 10 seconds. That's wrong. That's not correct. It's actually only going to take you 1 minute. So you can choose whichever one you'd like. So in this first run through, we'll just take everything on the left-hand side. And so once that's done, we will now put the age up in queue. We can queue up some more villagers afterwards, and you'll see that now will start researching. And it will take us 60 seconds, and eventually we will be able to do that. Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, you're having a tea party, are you? Oh, I'll be out for a tea party very soon. I'm just going to record this one video. Thanks, buddy. We're having a tea party out there, guys. Sorry. I'll have to be quick then. So I have to get to my son's tea party. Anyway, so while we're thinking about the tea party, we are aging up. Knights Hospitaller. Let's take a look at these units. Let's turn in a jiffy on here. We've got the age up through straight away, and we've now unlocked the Knights Hospitaller. So or rather, the Hospitaller Knight from the Knights Hospitaller. So these are its base stats. It's just got the 10 sword damage, the 13 torch, and of course it's got that little heal as well that is getting boosted up by its existing bonuses. The next thing that we'll look at, so we can actually just research safe passage right now. We can choose which sacred site we'd like them to go to. So in this example, we might take this one. We think this is probably going to be the safest one because it's on the edge of the map. So we'll go ahead and research safe passage, and that is going to start off our first pilgrim at 130 gold. So we can again research sanctuary. Keep in mind, these aren't instant. They're only instant because I've got the cheat on at the moment, and that's the reason why. So these guys will slowly be working their way out. They're quite slow units. They do actually get a little bit of a boost that whenever they get attacked, it goes on cooldown for about 5 seconds or so, but it's a little speed boost where they go from 0.75 up to like 0.92, I think it is, and they'll also say, help, above them. So maybe if there's a wolf out here and we hear it, you'll see that. Anyway, let's age up now to the next age where we're going to be going with our definitely one of my favorite units, the Heavy Spearmen. So let's take a look and see exactly how good this bad boy is, because I tell you what, it's scary, man. It is so scary. So the Heavy Spearmen, 140 health. Let's compare him to a Men-at-Arms as well. So we've got the men at arms, 140 health, 155. Same base armor, 11 damage, 12 damage. But you've also got plus 25 versus cavalry, plus 5 versus elephants. Wow. You've also got the spear wall, which is going to be quite a bit stronger as well. And of course, once you start stacking up a whole bunch of bonuses here, once you get your blacksmith bonuses, this is going to look a lot nicer. And of course, there's other ways that you can stack this up. You can go in with the Principality of Antioch, and you can see right here, yeah, 0.97 movement speed. So we'll keep an eye out on this the next time that he comes back, and you should see that little thing above his head that says, help, help. But we're going to have to, okay, you can see, yeah, he moved. Let's change it over towards this direction now. So that's the heavy spearman. Let's just get some upgrades for him just to check out how good he is. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. And he's a bit slower than a normal spearman as well. Just keep that in mind. So a normal spearman's 1.25. This is a 1.12 movement speed. But I still think he's going to be pretty damn strong. And then finally, our age up here is going to be the Kingdom of Poland for all cav gaining 10% health and 50% charge damage. But before we do that, let's just see if we can spot out. I want to see that little help message that comes up. It's so cute. They're like, help, help. Let's see. Okay, we got a boar. Boar's probably not going to do too much. So let's take a look at the Schlacher cavalry and see exactly what it does. So that is it, fully upgraded right there. You can see it's got the gold on it. Let's have a look. There's the wolf. Here it comes. Help. Help. Why is it? It's not saying help. I wonder if that's only in, maybe it's in the spectator thing, because I was watching my own games and I saw that. Yeah, you can see the difference in movement speed that's coming through right now. So they get that little jog on right there, 97 movement speed versus 0.75. So just to help get them to the sacred site a little bit faster. And of course, your armor upgrades do also carry over to the pilgrims, which is quite nice. So it definitely incentivizes you getting them. So yeah, we've got the Schlacher cavalry. We'll also grab a Templar brother as well, just so you can compare the stats. We'll grab the elite upgrade as well. They are one of the best looking cav units in the game, just because of how golden they are. And we can see the damage now between them, or the damage difference. You've got 34 with a +8 against light infantry. So that's going to be your crossbows, that's going to be your longbows that they counter. Or just any light infantry. So spearmen, light melee infantry, they also counter that. So that's another thing that they do quite well against. So you've got a mirrored counter right here. So generate or decreases enemy attack speed by 20% on hit. The bludgeoning of attacks, and then we've got the Polish Fortitude for extra charge damage that's coming through. Elite Templar brother. These guys are obviously doing absolute work out here. They are very, very strong. Other than that, I think that's pretty much everything for this little playthrough. Just to show you the rest of the units, we've also got the archer, you've got the crossbow. This is pretty standard, you'll be familiar with these, nothing too crazy. And then we've got the horseman as well, but obviously it doesn't look too strange. You're familiar with this unit. So let's take a look now at the second selections that you can make throughout these games that you might be playing as the Knights Templar, and what the units look like, what they're aesthetically looking like, what their stats are like, what their bonuses are. So we'll type in our cheat here. We'll grab in a jiffy. We'll build some houses, and we'll now go for the central column. So we'll start off with the Kingdom of France, and that'll give us a stable. And we now have access to the Chevalier. And the Chevalier is that sort of pseudo-knight unit, a little bit halfway between a horseman, halfway between a knight sort of thing. It's got no bonus damage, so it just does flat damage. And relatively low armor, but still armor, right? And, you know, low armor is better than no armor. That's what I always say. So here you can see the horseman's got 2, whereas here we're 2-2, which is quite nice. So it is, it's a solid little bonus. And keep in mind, this does obviously stack up the more of them that you've got. So if you were to grab a whole bunch of these guys, all of a sudden, you've got yourself quite a decent amount of extra health that is starting to really stack up. And obviously, biology in the Imperial Age is going to even make this greater. So now let's take a look at our next age up. It's going to be the Republic of Genoa for one of my favorite units. It's kind of tough, right? The Castle Age has got a lot of good units. All 3 of them are really good. But I think with regard to the best unit, the Genoese crossbowman is definitely in a... It's definitely a top tier contender, we'll say that much. So we can see the base damage that it does here. So it has 110 base health, 21 on its base damage, and then a +9 against melee infantry. It's also got 6 tiles of range. So if you compare that to the normal crossbow, if we take a look here, so the normal crossbow's only got 5 tiles of range. So obviously it's a little bit more expensive. You know, you're talking about a whole bunch of extra gold. It's actually an extra 60 gold. It's only because we've aged up with the French Commandery here that we're able to have that little discounted rate. But you are paying quite a bit more gold for them. So if we think like 80-40 versus 80-100, it's quite a big bump. But of course, it means that, you don't really discriminate when it comes to your attack. The other thing to note is the attack speed is quite slow. So this is a 2.12, this is a 2.62. So slightly slower attack speed. But when it comes to the amount of damage this guy can put out, like, it is indiscriminate just how hard he hits. And the other thing to note is, like, your standard crossbow's got 11 damage with plus 10 against heavy. This has just got a flat 21 damage. Like, it already is doing that. And then on top of that, you obviously get the 9 extra melee damage. So that's quite nice. They are a slower unit as well, 1.12 against 1.06. So let us now, you also get the extra bit of armor. So let's take a look at the Imperial Age at the Teutonic Order for our last unit today. And this is, sorry, not our last unit today, our last unit in this little playthrough right here, and that is, of course, the Teutonic Knight, which is a beast. We've seen this guy many a time before, and just look at the stats on him. It is this. Can we get a man-at-arms out here just to compare the pair? 180 health on this guy, 310 on this guy. And keep in mind, they do take the same amount of population. So when it comes to FFAs and you're in the late game and you're like, hey, I've got 350 population. Yeah, you want to be making Teutonic Knights. You want to be making Teutonic Knights. They are impressive. So whenever you kill a unit, you're going to be getting an extra 5 health and also an extra 1 damage, which is pretty damn good. Like, 1 damage is a lot of damage that's coming through. You also do that -2/-2 armor debuff on your enemy units. So a really cool unit, a very strong unit, very fun, but obviously quite a slow unit as well, even compared to the Men-at-Arms, which is already a slow unit. The Teutonic Knight is quite a bit slower, as you can see. Yeah, it's something to consider, but I think generally you're probably going to be wanting to mix these guys in with your armies. They're a bit more expensive, obviously, but still a reasonable cost. I think many people will be able to justify the cost of them. So let's take a look now at our final. We might actually just quit this match. Let's go over to a water map. That way we can actually have a look at our final one. So we'll go into Shadow Lake. I think we should technically be able, let's just make sure we got cheats. We should technically be able to make a Venetian warship out here. So it is our final 3. So we're going to be going up the right side of the column here. So we'll turn on our cheat as soon as we get in. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll move our villager in towards the middle of the map. Even though there is a sacred site, okay, maybe the water's up here. I don't actually know this map, so we're going to have to just be cautious about that. Hopefully there is water. So we'll start off with the Principality of Antioch, which is melee units gaining 10% damage, which is absolutely wonderful. That is an incredibly strong bonus. And I think it's still going to take some time for us to work out how all these things work exactly, but here as an example, we've got the Sergeant. And the Sergeant has got melee damage. 10 melee damage that it gets, because obviously it's getting the extra damage from the Antioch Age Up. And it's got 4 melee armor, which means it's very good against like your horseman combos with your spearmen, that sort of thing. It is very, very effective against that. Doesn't do particularly well against archers. It's also got a slow rate of fire, so 1 attack every 2 seconds, and a range of 4. So let's move on now to the next age and take a look at the next unit, which is going to be the Genitua. So we'll go ahead and grab our archery range. And the Genitua comes out of the archery range, and we can see it right here. Kind of looks like a horseman. It's just a little bit like holding up its javelin slightly higher. And if we take a look at the base stats, you'll see that it only does 5 damage, but it has an extra 10 damage against ranged units. So similar to the javelin thrower from the Malians, in that that javelin thrower unit has a lot higher base damage, but a lower counter. Here we've got the inverse happening, where it's a lower base damage, but a higher counter. And this means that it's definitely going to be a little bit more niche in its usage. You're not going to be able to spam these guys as much. There's definitely going to be a world where people want to do it, but it won't really be doing a lot of damage. And especially with the way that armor works in Age of Empires 4, it's important to remember that this is a 4 armor unit, 5 damage. It's only going to be receiving 20% of the damage that you're doing. It's going to be doing 1 damage every hit. So we really want to try and make sure that we're prioritizing things like crossbows against armored units. We want to make sure that our Genitors are actually hitting ranged units. So more of an advanced option for you. But let's finally take a look at the Republic of Venice, where we'll have a look at their very first unit. It is the Condottiero, and it is quite quick. You'll see it's got that same weapon as the Landsknecht. I don't actually think it's the exact same weapon, but it's a large weapon, and it is a 2-handed weapon. If we watch him swing, I don't actually know whether this does AoE or not, but when I say that, I means area of effect. But you can see just how how long that animation takes. So he's quite quick as well, 1.44 movement speed. He only costs gold, 120 gold, so that's honestly a really good price when you think about it. And he gets bonus damage against gunpowder units. So if your enemy, maybe your enemy's playing the Rus, they're making a whole bunch of Streltsy, you can move into Venice, you can pick up the Condottiero, and your enemy is not going to be wanting to make any more gunpowder units, because not only do they get that bonus damage, they also get a minus 20% modifier from damage that they receive to gunpowder units. So it is a nice little buff up there for them as well. So now let's take a look and see if we've already found a market on the map. So we'll go ahead and, or rather, we've found a trade post on the map. So let's go ahead and trade up some units. Let's grab maybe a Venetian trader or two and enjoy just how fast they go. Now, we can only grab 5 of them, but the good news is they go on very, very quickly. They're making 60 gold per run here, so not a bad amount. We could probably improve that by quite a bit. In fact, let's go ahead and do it. Let's just get the most sensible trade route in that we possibly could. But this is pretty cool. And the reason why this is so cool is because these are basically unkillable, if you think about it from that perspective, right? Like, the only way you can really stop these is if you wall them out, or if you actually kill them and on intercept immediately. Like, you would have to have a whole bunch of units here and just boom, dead, because you're not going to be able to catch and kill this unit. It is just not going to be happening. It is too damn quick. It is faster than a horseman, and obviously when a horseman is charging after this unit, then sure, it's going to have that brief little increase in movement speed, but it is just so damn quick. It is going to be covering the map very effectively. So we'll go ahead and now put our market down in the corner, and we'll switch these guys over. Are we able to set this as our home market? I think we might have to change these guys here. So let's go ahead. If we right click like that, does that change anything? Indeed it does. So now we're up to 156 gold for these traders. So they're going to be running along the map looking to gather that gold. So our final unit for today, it is going to be a warship, the Venetian Galley. So we'll take a look at it. It's a beautiful looking ship, and it's got the ability to fire from the front. It does quite a bit of damage, 25 trebuchet damage. It's got the 2 burst attacks. This can also be increased. So if we take a look at the university, we've got a villager in here somewhere. There we go. So if we take a look at the university, and actually we might grab a siege workshop as well. We might also put down a fortress. So when we have our trebuchet out, our university is here. And what's going to happen now, so we'll get the trebuchet emplacement. So we've now got the trebuchet emplacement that we can click on. Give me a second here. There we go. So they've got 2 burst attacks that they fire instead of 1. And what we could do is go to the university, and we can grab that unique upgrade where we get an additional attack. And it now means that the trebuchet's got 3 burst attacks. Here we've got 3 burst attacks. And out here we should also technically now have 3 burst attacks. So it means that we can attack ground, and we can get ourselves some decent shots coming off. Not a whole lot of damage on the initial shot against units, but against buildings, obviously quite a bit, and against ships, definitely quite a bit as well. It does take some time for it to actually reload and fire off, though, but that is the last unit. So I think we've pretty much covered everything here. I guess finally we'll just take a look at the market and the way that the lettre de change. The lettre de change works. So here you've got your 3 pilgrim loans. Now you can only have 1 at a time. Hey, buddy, how you doing? I don't know where Mummy is, mate. I thought she was out at your tea party. All right. Oh, Gus is here as well. Okay, we got both of the boys are down here. He's got his digger. Okay, I gotta get to a party, guys. Sorry. So we have got ourselves pilgrim loans. So 900 gold per minute for 4 minutes, and 600 gold per minute for 3 minutes, where you pay 2,500, and 300 gold for 2 minutes, where you pay 1,000. So that is they are the pilgrim loans. You can only take 1 at a time. So if we take a look here, you'll see that it's got this cool little animation on it. See you, boys. Thanks. Yeah, it's got this cool little animation. That means you're going to be generating gold every minute that's coming through, which is, I mean, obviously huge when it comes to the late game. So a really cool little bonus that you can pick up. Other than that, I think that's pretty much everything when it comes to the aesthetics or the looks of these units, the physical touch of them, all that good stuff. We'll obviously be getting into a theory crafting video where we talk about the civilization and what we can expect and what we think might be the case when it comes to how they play. But other than that, we'll leave it there. I've got a tea party to get to, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.